Imagine not being able to read the paper because your hands were shaking. Imagine not being able to read newsprint as your world faded to black. The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. With your host, Lee Martin, and co-host, Florence Myers-McSwine.
We want to welcome you to the National Federation of the Blind Newsline show. It has been a wonderful month. We're just getting ready to go into spring, and we're going to spring into spring with a guest all the way from Washington, D.C., Miss Libra Robinson. And you're going to enjoy the show as we talk with her and her journey through life and how she has become a Black, blind, female entrepreneur. So we're going to talk with her. But Florence, how are you today?
I'm doing well today, Lee.
Well, I tell you, it's a nice day to be well. And how are you doing today, Miss Libra Robinson?
I am fantastic. Thank you for asking.
Okay.
All right. Miss Libra Robinson from Washington, D.C., welcome to our show today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. So we're going to talk a little bit about NFB Newsline. I know that you're familiar with this free audio information service. We're going to talk a little bit about the newspapers and magazines and the KNFB Reader Basic that it has. Now, do you use NFB Newsline yourself, Libra?
I do use it, not as often as I should, but I do use it and I'm quite familiar with it. And it's a really good resource. I would say that.
Yes, ma'am. It certainly is. Now, we're here in Indiana, so I'm always talking about the magazines. Lee usually talks a lot about those newspapers because there's so many newspapers to choose from. But I like AARP magazine myself. I like Guidepost magazines. I love reading poets and writers because I love to write. In Indianapolis, Indiana Business Journal, which is a fantastic magazine here in Indiana. And there are numerous newspapers that perhaps Lee might want to discuss that. Lee, how about you?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, we have over 500 different publications, as was stated, and we have newspapers from all over the world there. We have, I think it's 17 international newspapers that you can read. We have national publications that you can read, such as the New York Times, the Washington Post, the USA Today, and various other publications nationally. One of the great things about NFB Newsline is that we have access for everyone. We try to meet people where their skill sets are. If you're using a landline phone, you can use a landline phone. If you're using a smartphone, you can use your smartphone. If you want to use your computer, you can use your computer. If you want to use your A-Lady, which we call Alexa, you can use that as well. There's so many ways that you can access it. You can also access it through another device that we have with the National Federation of the Blind. And that's with our tool that we have with the Victor Reader Stream. You can use that as well as another great tool that a lot of people are using. So we just want to encourage you to learn more about this NFB Newsline free audio information service. Now, Florence, you mentioned something about a new device that we have. You want to talk about that?
Now, are you speaking about this, the KNFB Basic?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that is one of my favorite tools with NFB Newsline. I use that every day. And the KNFB Reader allows me to read my mail, anything that I need. I can basically snap a picture and it's reading it to me, whether it's spices in the cabinet, mail, whatever I get here, I can read it. So I love using the KNFB reader, and that tool is free also. And I use that along with, actually I use an app. I use the NFB Newsline app, so I can access KNFB reader 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just like I can the free audio information service, Lee.
Yeah, I tell you, there's so much about the service more than just reading newspapers and magazines too. As you see that with the KNFB reader, and I would say take advantage of that, all of you that are eligible for the program. And those are those that have sight impairments, or those that have the shaky hand syndromes, or those with certain forms of dyslexia, and even those that are deaf blind can now access this free audio information service. So pay attention to our commercials. It'll get you to where all the information that you need to get to us so that we can get the service to you. You can also contact our Indiana State Library, and they can get you to us as well, or they can sign you up there also. So we're going to take a short pause, and we're going to come right back with our guest all the way from Washington, D.C., Ms. Libra Robinson. So stay tuned.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I use NFB Newsline when reading Hammond Northwest Times.
Using NFB Newsline, I read the Christian Science magazine.
Dad, you read your Jerusalem Post, too.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Live the life you want. Read NFB Newsline.
It's free.
I just graduated college as a blind student. How can I independently find job listings?
Thanks to the National Federation of the Blind, visually impaired Hoosiers can hear newspapers, circulars, and magazines from across the globe.
It is a fantastic service.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
We are the nation's blind, and we read NFB Newsline.
Welcome to this segment of the National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. And we are honored today to have Ms. Libra Robinson as our special guest all the way from Washington, D.C. And Libra, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And Libra, tell us a little bit about you. Who is Libra Robinson?
Who is Libra Robinson? Okay, well, I was born in Washington, D.C. I am a native of Washington, D.C. That was a good question. Who is Libra Robinson? I'm a blind woman, proud to be, very confident in it. I lost my vision at the age of 18, being diagnosed with what is called Pseudotumor Cerebri. And it's just basically a fancy term for pressure on your optic nerve from your cerebral fluids. However, I did not really admit it until like 2012. So that's from 1992 to maybe 2012 that I just kind of faked it till I made it. But I'm simple. I'm a mother. I'm just Libra. You know, that's it.
Now, Libra, it's very interesting in this conversation when you talk about having a condition of blindness and then faking it till you make it. Let's let's talk about that a little bit more and give some people some insight on that because oftentimes people do that. And what do you mean by that? As it affected you?
Well, for me, I'll say in my case, when I say fake it till I make it, because I had some sight, I had several surgeries, but I had some sight, but not really enough to do things independently, but I could go out and just pretend like I could see. So if I was always with someone, I would always be with someone. I never went out by myself. I would knock over something and blame it on the ketchup. You know, why the ketchup right there? You know, you know, just those type of things until you really fully admit to yourself that you have a visual impairment. You kind of pretend like it doesn't exist, even though when you find out that you're okay and you become comfortable with it, you find out everyone around you already knew it existed. They were just waiting for you to figure it out, you know? So yeah, when I say fake, it's like not admitting to yourself that you're different, because I wasn't born blind or visually impaired or whatever anyone wants to call it. So it was new. And then in those days, I don't know how it is now, you know, I had my surgery, they just sent me home. You know, I didn't know anything about NFB or canes or anything like that. So I just had to keep living.
You know, and Libra now, you know, I can relate to that. I can relate to that because many times we do that. We, it is almost like we're embarrassed to let anybody know that we. And with that being said, what was your aha moment when you decided, okay, I need to use a white cane?
Well, I would say it didn't come easy. What happened to me was I have a son, and I looked at him one day real close, and I said, "What's that on your face?" He said, "My mustache." I said, "Mustache? Like, how long has it been since, you know, I've been doing things other than being a mother and a homemaker and things of that nature?" So I reached out to my local Columbia Lighthouse. It took me 3 days. I was so nervous because that means admitting something that you haven't admitted to yourself for a long time. And they sent me a mobility trainer out. And we went down the block. He gave me the cane. We went down the block. When he left, I put the cane in the closet. He came again, went down the block, put the cane in the closet. One day, I realized I was learning because he asked me to meet him at the corner. I said, I don't go out by myself. He said, "You can do it." And I had the white cane, and I met him at the corner. Went into the store and bought me a Pepsi on my own. I hadn't done anything like that for years. And from there, I went to a 2-week training program called a FAB class, where they kind of build your confidence in being comfortable with your cane, being comfortable just being you, teaching you skills of how to cook and do all the things I kind of knew, but just doing it safely as a blind and visually impaired person. And those 2 weeks made me realize it's okay to be exactly who you are. It's okay. Because my thought was, what if somebody see me? Well, you can't see them seeing you anyway. So it's okay, you know. So that's what just gave me the confidence.
And it is okay.
It's okay.
Because you'd be surprised how many people are out here that's coping with sight loss and having those same emotions. And, you know, psychologically, it runs deep. And I even heard that it runs deep enough where people that are on their dying bed that lose their sight don't want anybody to know that I can't see, you know. So it does go a long way. And
it does.
You know, with your, go ahead.
And I was gonna say one experience. I never heard of Metro Access. It was my first time doing it, and I was alone, and I couldn't believe it. Nobody with me, and I felt so good. So it was just, I couldn't go back. Couldn't go back to having people around every time I go somewhere. I just couldn't go back to it.
Now, I would like to know, you're talking about independence and how you gain your independence and how you gain trust within yourself. You know, there's always someone that's sent to us, seems to be, that helps us gain those bits of independence and acceptance of ourselves, even though we often know now that society still has its preconceived ideas about blindness and blind people. And we're going to talk a little bit about that when we come into our next segment. We want to talk a little bit more about how did you find more independence to become the successful person that you are within the National Federation of the Blind. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with co-host Florence Myers-McSwine and our guest, Ms. Libra Robinson, all the way from Washington, D.C. Stay tuned.
Now, thanks to NFB Newsline, I feel that my eyes have been opened to a whole new world of information. I can again keep up with sports right along with my husband and sons. They're impressed that I have this service, and personally, I am too.
I was happy to see that I can again read Guidepost and Reader's Digest. It's funny when you think about how the simple things in life, like reading your favorite magazines, can make a heart smile. I want to thank the NFB Newsline team for what they do.
The National Federation of the Blind knows that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. Every day we raise the expectations of blind people because low expectations create obstacles between blind people and our dreams. You can live the life you want. Blindness is not what holds you back.
With my failing eyesight, I'm not able to read regular newspapers, and I'm not able to keep up with obituaries.
I've been a homemaker all of my life, but since my vision has failed, I wish I could read my favorite magazines.
Have you heard of the NFB Newsline?
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today.
Welcome back to this segment of the National Federation of the Blind Newsline, Indiana, and we're speaking with Libra Robinson. And Libra, we were speaking of some of the things that about you, and how long have you been a member of the NFB?
I joined in June of 2012.
Okay, and now how did you hear about the National Federation of the Blind?
That's funny. I was at I used to go to Columbia Lighthouse, and I was at this advisory board meeting, and they were there because I was just a citizen, a blind citizen, and they wanted to hear about concerns from, just the blind citizens around the Washington, D.C. area. And I had a friend that I met in the FAB class, which is Fundamental Adjustment to Blindness, who was homeless, but he couldn't get into a shelter because he was blind. And I was telling everybody around the table, and some people were like, oh, that's a shame. And, well, let's get on to the next thing. And it was this man there who kicked the table. Boom, that's ridiculous. That don't make no sense. And I said, oh, that's who I need to talk to. And I said, excuse me, sir, what is your name? He said, my name is Sean Calloway, and I need to talk to you immediately. He was the only one who took interest in what I was saying to him. And from there, he asked me to come to a National Federation of the Blind meeting. Unbeknownst to me, at the time, he was the president of that said organization. And just his tenacity and the way he did everything had me to stay. I thought it was going to be more of, oh, we blind. But when I got there, it was a fantastic, uplifting experience. And I haven't missed but 2 meetings since. 2 meetings since.
That is so fantastic, and he's to be commended, and so are you. In your short journey here with the National Federation of the Blind, you've accomplished a lot. You want to share with us what you've accomplished?
Okay, well, when I first joined, I said 2012. That same year, I became chairwoman of the Community Service Committee. And then the next year, following year, we became a division. We actually was the first division, community service division, before there was a national one. Then I was elected the first vice president of our Greater Washington, D.C. chapter, and then our first vice president of our affiliate. And now I'm currently the president of the Greater Washington, D.C. chapter, still the president of the Community Service Division. That's my first baby, but I was elected to all these positions, and unbeknownst to me, without running, I was called to say, would you run? Would you be the first vice president? And I was like, what does this entail? I want to know, what does this, And it's truly been a pleasure being under the leadership of Mr. Sean Calloway, watching him, because to remind you, I was new to even accepting being blind, let alone these positions, you know. But I wanted to do my best. That's why I asked, what did they entail before I took on the responsibility? And it's been a great responsibility ever since.
Now, what else happened with you? I know that you're in NFB. You're a woman of many hats, and I do know that you're a Black blind entrepreneur. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, yes, I do have a business called Insight VIP Services for the blind and visually impaired. And based on this business, I did win the National Federation of the Blind Balaton Award in 2019. And that is an award given to entrepreneurs from a trust from a doctor named Mr. Balaton, Dr. Balaton, who was a blind doctor, maybe I think in the early 1900s, late 1800s. And that was a feat then. So his family gives an award to different entrepreneurs that are helping to create, I would say, good things and businesses for or who are blind, for blind people, or if you are blind. So this business is basically, I contract out of our local DC Center for Independent Living to teach JAWS, which is Job Access with Speech. It is the screen reading software that blind and visually impaired people use. I'm JAWS certified to do that. I also have what is called Smartphone Boot Camp, where I teach blind and visually impaired people how to use the Android and iPhone, because so often I would see people with these phones and just hand them to someone else. And I also have what is called the Braille Club, where I teach just intermediate Braille, little words, letters, and how to read and write them. And I've done other things like Victor Screen workshops, and I'm currently working on an iPad workshop. And I actually just got a contract to work from our Maryland portion called Independence Now. So that's like a sister to the DC Center for Independent Living. So along with that, I also have what is called Insight Aids and Products. And this is something that's on, it's like my online store where blind and visually impaired people can go get their slate and styluses, talking thermometers, glucose monitors that talking watches, games, puzzles, household items, etc. So anything that a blind visually impaired person would need or want, it is at Insight Aids and Products.
All right, right. Now, for someone interested in your getting supplies and accommodations from your business, how can they contact you? You have a website or something?
Yes, ma'am. So they can go to Insight, the letter N, SIGHT, VIPservices.com. If they want to purchase an item, they can purchase the item right over the website, pay through PayPal, and their item will be shipped directly to them. There's also a products coordinator number on there, Ms. Joanne Stevens. And if they have any problems, they can give her a call. She'll help them find anything that they do not see on the website.
All right.
Libra, you wear so many hats and you do so many things. I tell you, it has just been my pleasure to have met you in this journey. Another one of the things that you really work well with and that you helped start is Blind Women's Empowerment Conference. You want to share a little bit about that?
Oh, yes, yes. Okay, so 5 years ago, we came up with an idea of a Blind Women's Empowerment Conference. And this was going to be during our local convention, our DC convention. And of course, our President Sean Calloway thought it was a good idea. He said, put it together. So myself, along with Ms. Denise Brown from Philadelphia, then Gail Snyder, one of our chapter members, and Ms. Gail Cephas, who actually just passed away last year from due to the coronavirus. Us 4 ladies started that together. And we're down to 2 now, me and Denise Brown. But every year we do the Women Empowerment Conference, and it's a sit-down luncheon. So we have 4 speakers, blind, powerful women, They could be homemakers. And when I say powerful, that doesn't mean your position. It means your position in the world. Like you could be a mother. You can be an author. We don't have masseuse, lawyers. We have 4 women to speak panelists. Then we have a set down plated nice lunch. Then we have our keynote. We also have entertainment for our singers and poetry. One of your guests that you had on here, Ms. Janetta Price, has graced us to come all the way to DC, before the pandemic, to be a part of our women empowerment. And every year we just have a fantastic time empowering our blind women. And it's open to all, sighted and blind, but it's about blind women.
Well, the DC affiliate is very diverse, and I've been there to share with you guys before. As with our First Lady here, Jean Brown, she was also a speaker, guest speaker there for that empowerment.
Yes.
So we're going to take a short pause, and we're going to come right back and wrap up our show, and stay tuned.
As I travel the nation, I read NFB Newsline.
I live in Valparaiso, Indiana, and I listen to my local news on NFB Newsline.
As a student, I enjoy reading current events on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today. Libra, we want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me so much.
Libra, would you leave with some words for our viewing audience?
I would just say, be kind to people along the way, and give the kindness back as you go forward. Just surround yourself with good people and stay true to yourself.
Join us next week as we bring to you more inspiration, more hope, and more joy. Take good care of yourselves and be blessed.
The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. For more information, go to nfb-in.org or call 855-963-6476. That's 855-963-6476. The National Federation of the Blind encourages you to live the life you want.